Yeah.
Alright, here we are, live. How's it going, guys? How's it going, chat? We're here with Richard from Genital Jousting.
Yeah.
Let us know what the audio's like as well. We're using a brand new microphone thanks to Razer, who've hooked us up with some new gear. We've also got a new camera as well, so I'm trying it with no extra lights to see how it comes out. So yeah, let us know if we need to tweak any audio or anything. And if you have any questions as we're going through the interview, chuck them in chat and we'll get around to asking them. But yeah, Richard, welcome to Australia.
Nice.
Yeah, so how long you been here now?
I've been in Australia for about 2.5 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
Started in Melbourne, went to Canberra, now Sydney.
Yeah.
Not sure which was my favorite city, but I kind of like bits of all of them.
Yeah.
Except maybe Canberra.
Yeah, so then, when I asked you what did you think of your trip so far, the first thing you said to me was Canberra was boring.
Yeah, it was quite nice though, because I just come from the chaos of like Melbourne and like
Yeah.
drinking every night, and I was actually quite excited. But
See, I love Melbourne
nothing.
myself.
Yeah.
I think Melbourne's a beautiful city, and it's got a thriving game dev culture there as well.
yeah, totally. I'm staying with Louis from SK Games,
Yeah.
who like runs a like alternative punk game bar there. So
Yeah.
the little Genital Jousting launch
Oh,
event.
what bar was that?
It's called Bar SK. It's
I haven't even been to that one yet.
yeah, no one used to know about it, but it's like the coolest bar in Melbourne. They have like all craft beers, like only craft beers, and
Yeah.
then like weird video game
Yeah, I think
installations.
the only two bars I've been to, gaming bars I've been to in Melbourne were Bartronica
Okay,
and what's the other one? GG Easy, which is an
Okay.
esports bar.
I didn't go to either. I actually wish maybe I'll go to. I've never been to an esports bar.
Yeah, so
I'd
it's
like to
actually
check it out.
completely off track from talking about you, but it's a
No,
cool
it's
bar.
interesting.
They don't have video games there to play or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like it's the theme
It's a
of
sports
it.
bar.
Yeah, the theme of it, it's an esports bar, so it's a sports bar that you can watch esports in.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the future. I feel like the people that like watch. So I say this is something that knows nothing about esports, but I feel like more and more the people that watch esports aren't necessarily gamers. They're just the people that like used to watch other kinds of sports.
I think there's a good mix of both there.
Yeah.
The betting scene in esports is exactly the same as standard gambling on normal
Really?
sports. Yeah, it's huge.
I hadn't thought about that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do they have it at like those like gross like tab?
Yeah,
betting
yeah.
places? Really, they have
yeah.
esports there now.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so you
That's
can chuck $100 down on phase to win and all sorts.
Interesting. But yeah, Bar SK, it's cool.
Yeah. All right, so we're having to be a bit careful with this stream because we're going to be talking about the development work on Genital Jousting,
Penises.
but you're not allowed to play Genital Jousting on Twitch.
no.
So we're on Twitch, we're talking about Genital Jousting, we're going to get into some details on that, but we're not allowed to play it at all. Like, at first I was thinking, how cool would it be to have this chat while we were playing it?
Yeah.
But
Well, in some ways, yes. I mean, I feel like it's hard to have a conversation when you're playing a game at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
Because it's like your brain's in two places at once, so it's kind of nice to be able to just like have a proper conversation.
yeah.
But it would be nice to have some visual like reference.
Well, so we have rolled the dice on this, and we'll see how good our viewers are because we've got a couple of scenes that we'll cut to throughout, which is it's got the trailer there, and we'll see if chat's nice to us and doesn't.
Do you have the do you have the single player trailer? As
I
well?
don't have the single player trailer there as
That's
well.
like a
but-
whole different beast as well.
Yeah.
That like a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. But start things off. How did you get into web development?
I started by studying like
Oh, not
film-
web development, game development.
I haven't yet,
Yeah.
but I studied some film and psychology. I was like a classic kid, get out of school, didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Did film, took it like degree in film and psychology and philosophy, and then like a year in realized I hated writing like with a passion.
Yeah.
Just couldn't. I was just essays. So I switched to programming, computer science, and that was like way better. And you could like do something and get like 100% for it,
Yeah.
which was so much better than like handing an essay and getting like an arbitrary mark, which
Yeah.
I hated. And like you can't get 100%. And then I just sort of had a game development program, which was kind of terrible, but it made me realize that like making video games is a thing you could do, which I don't think ever occurred to me.
Yeah.
before
Oh,
that.
I remember when I was at high school, like, I had no idea how video games were made. I mean, I grew up in the 16-bit era when I was at high school, so I'm old as fuck. But the concept of how games were made was just beyond me.
I think it's one of the most opaque entertainment / art forms. Like in terms of like everyone has a vague idea of how film works. Like film production, everyone I can understand it. It's such an analog
I
medium.
think also because it's pretty transparent. Like there's behind the scenes on TV, and like we grew up with that sort of being around.
Yeah, I mean computers in general are kind of just magic machines to a lot of people. Like how computers work. So games is like a whole other level on top of that.
Yeah. So what was your first project?
The first game I made was a like space western about a cowboy called, it was a co-op game. I love co-op games. So space western top down about a cowboy called Flint and his robot, which was a decommissioned sex robot called Gimpy.
Yeah.
And he kind of like a bender like robot, but he was like a previous, and it was all about, the narrative was about this cowboy and this robot that would like go on adventures, but there was like, the cowboy was like really insecure because he thought people thought he was like using the robot for sex, but the robot was like repurposed. Anyway, I guess I've been interested in like weird sexual undertones in my games for a while now.
Yeah.
But that was the first project I made. And that never really got very far. It was like a Java applet game.
Oh yeah. So you build this weird sex robot game and all that. When did you start getting into development seriously, like as a job?
As a job, yeah.
When you started exploring that?
Well, I got super lucky that I got straight out of varsity and started working at a company called Free Lives, which was just basically the founder at the time, Evan Greenwood. And I did like 3 months with him as an intern, and then decided I don't want to make games because I suck at it. Yeah. And like back then, games were very like mechanics heavy. Mechanics first, which was like I'm terrible at mechanics, so I was like I can't design games. And then I went back and did a year. I did my honors degree in computer science, and I realized I just wanted to make games. Actually, like doing all this other bullshit sucked. And then I came back, and by then they'd started working on a game called Broforce, which most people know.
Yeah, Broforce.
Yeah, and I jumped on that as like the 5th team member on that as like an programmer, and then basically did that for 3 years, and it was awesome. Got to go overseas and meet people and learn how to make games, and yeah, that was like a rad experience.
Yeah. So before you got to Genital Jousting, was there any projects of your own that people may know about, or?
I don't know if people would, no, nothing that people would know about really. Like I did while I was working on Broforce, I worked on a prototype called Wang Commander, which was the precursor to Genital Jousting in a lot of ways. It was like an 8-player game about like floppy penises playing soccer with each other, and that's when I sort of started getting interested in using
penis physics.
Penis physics, yeah, and also just like party games with penises and how people interact with each other in a room when they're playing with penises. Like at that time, I was like out of my first big relationship and like sort of exploring my own sexuality and stuff. Yeah. And I wanted to have all these conversations. All I wanted to talk about was like sex and people's like perspectives around it. So it was like all I was thinking about. And then I just made this game so that I could like take it to like events and like parties and like art exhibitions and set it up and then like watch people play it and like talk to people about how they feel about penises and stuff. Because I grew up in like quite a fairly like homophobic culture, like a boys culture where like being gay was like a pejorative. And
so we actually had this conversation last night over a beer. So you grew up in a very conservative home, right?
Yeah. It was. Yeah, my parents are pretty conservative. I was Christian.
Yeah. I mean, coming from South Africa as well, where the church is quite predominant over there. Yeah,
I don't think it's so bad where I grew up in Cape Town. There's quite a big gay scene and stuff there, but in general, I mean, the whole world was conservative. Back then, it's still getting better. Like, if you look back at like American Pie films and like Friends is so full of like homophobia.
I saw something come up on Twitter the other week about that, and I've never really. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it. I personally never liked Friends, so
I loved it.
Yeah,
but I think it's like part of the stages of society where like there are those tasteless jokes in American Pie, and like I listened to a lot of like pop punk and like Blink-182 and stuff.
Yeah,
and there's lots of like suck my dick jokes and stuff. And I kind of think like if you look back at them now, they're in really bad taste. But at the time, I feel like it was a stepping stone for society, like confronting like integration of like homosexuality into culture and trying to like.
See, I grew up personally listening to a lot of hip hop, right? And the word like I should have probably put a warning on this stream, like an arrow thing, but the word faggot is thrown around heavily in hip hop, right? And I've spoken to a lot of gay friends, and they've never really had a problem with it. So it's used in context. It's not used against gay people. Blah 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 blah. In fact, most of my gay friends have said, well, we use it more heavily amongst ourselves than I've heard straight people use it.
Totally.
And I actually said to a friend of mine, I go, well, you love hip hop, and he was like, yeah. I go, well, what about DMX?
Okay.
He goes, what do you mean DMX? I go, well, go back and listen to DMX now.
Really?
Yeah, and I personally won't listen to it now, and I used to love DMX.
Interesting.
Yeah, and DMX is heavily homophobic. Like, he's got entire songs about it. It's a reflection of the time, though, right?
Yeah. Apparently, there was like a famous like Eminem show where he like got up and like started just throwing out homophobic slurs and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was the time. It was.
Oh, see, I'd admit even back then myself, I was homophobic, but I think it was more not understanding it.
Yeah, I think it's also a lot of.
And growing up in rural New Zealand where blokes were blokey blokes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is exactly what it's called. It's like it's fear, homophobic. It's fear. Yeah. It's like fear of being outcast in your society.
Yeah.
For like, and I went to an all boys school, and like there was already a lot of like stigma from like other schools like challenging our masculinity because we were all boys school. We must all be gay. So like within the school there was like this strong like don't let people possibly think you're gay kind of culture.
Yeah. Totally. The whole drop the soap fucking mentality.
That joke. So, oh god.
Yeah. Okay. So, interesting. So, you started exploring this. Like, okay. So you did just mention. I want to go back to it. Art exhibitions. So you've actually shown genital jousting in art exhibitions.
Wang Commander, not genital jousting. I gave up by the time we got to genital jousting.
Yeah. But how does that happen? And how does that go down?
I don't know. I think I like at some point decided I was more than a game developer. I was an artist.
Yeah.
And I would just find events happening like locally and like just like send them a message being like, hey, I have a game, like I want to show it. I think it would be good. And it usually takes some convincing.
Yeah.
And then it's always really awkward when you get there because you have to like set it up and like people don't know what to expect and people all like, I don't know, especially like art people, they like have like expectation. They think of like Counter-Strike and stuff when they think of games.
Yeah, totally.
And they're like, you have to like kind of earn your stripes. But then by the end of the night, everyone's laughing and it's great. Yeah.
But it must be fascinating watching people play it for the first time as well, though.
Yeah, no, I love it. Especially, I really love watching couples play it, actually.
Yeah.
A guy and a girl is like a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Because suddenly, especially with Genital Jousting, it's a game about like fucking each other.
Yeah.
So like the dynamic is sometimes reversed from where now the woman can fuck the guy and like that's obviously still a taboo in society and like it's interesting to watch this change.
Yeah. Alright, so how does the concept go from that to Genital Jousting?
So while we were working on Broforce, we did a game jam, which if you don't know what game jam is, it's basically like trying to make a game in like a short period of time.
It's like 24 hours or something.
Yeah. So there was a thing called Chain Jam organized by Turbo on Twitter. His name Turbo. And it was called like Chain Jam, and basically the idea is like 20 people would make small 4-player games, and then the games would kind of link together, and it'd be like a sort of MarioWare of other people's games.
Yeah.
And Evan decided, we've been talking a lot about like the reactions Wang Commander was getting in the office, or getting from like exhibitions, and surprised by how people were responding to it, and like wanted to explore that further. And Evan took it to the next level, where he wanted to make a game about stacking penises on top of each other. And I wish, actually should have prepared more for the stream. I have like this great drawing that was like the original drawing on a piece of paper that Evan drew with a bunch of penises stacked on top of each other and like cum and shit and and he just wanted to make something disgusting. And he tried to make it that jam and it didn't really work. It didn't work out. And then later at like another jam in Berlin, he tried again, and Genital Jousting, at the time known as Magnetic Assholes, a Love Story, was born. For some reason we couldn't keep that name. I feel like it was more accurate, to be honest. I fought for it. But yeah, so that's the history of the game. And interestingly, I think like to sort of making the game has been a big like exploration into the whole space of like, I don't know, representation and sexuality and our own sexuality and toxic masculinity and blah blah blah. And like you can actually see in the first drawing there's a stack of penises, and the one at the bottom is an arrow. It says winner. And like that's completely opposed to what the design is now, where the idea is that penetration isn't winning. It's like about penetrating and being penetrated and subverting the expectation that penetration is winning.
Yeah.
So, but it shows how like we started out in this like problematic space and worked our way forward from there.
Okay, so you have tried to put social narrative in there as well, like conscious narrative.
Yeah, well, we've spent a lot of time thinking about the stuff and like wanting to make something that we tried to be positive in society. So within the multiplayer, there's a lot of layers of narrative, and as soon as you put two penises that can fuck each other in a space that has the ability to be harmful and good, because there's a lot of people that have had bad experiences with penises penetrating them, and it can be traumatic and triggering. So trying to like work around that has been tough and interesting, and I've had like a lot of dark moments where I was like, what am I doing? Why the fuck am I making this? Is this a bad game to make? Am I causing pain and suffering? And I eventually sort of decided that like we think that like the game has got problems and it can like be triggering to some people, but on the net whole we think it's like better and good.
But don't you think that's saying that almost any game has, or any form of entertainment almost has the could trigger somebody's bad experience? Like, I mean, if you've had a bad experience with a shooting, a shooting game could do it. If you've had a bad experience with bullying, a game like GTA, you could.
That's where my logic basically led me. I was like, oh, you can't make anything.
Any online game is going to trigger bullying.
Exactly. So my logic, I followed the logic, and I was like, oh, eventually you only get to a point where like all the edges are rounded off so much that the thing is just not interesting at all. So I think in the tension is where the interest, where the captivation.
So I actually never got a chance to play the online one first. Well, my first experience in Genital Jousting was the single player story mode. So that came out how long after?
That came out plus minus a year after launching the.
There was a recent launch, right?
That came out in January.
So
pushed a lot of times.
So how did you develop the story? Because personally, like, if you go back, actually, can I say this? Okay, so there's a live stream that my colleague Jack Hutto did on a client account, and in the background, all you can hear is me laughing in the background because while he's doing this super corporate live stream, I'm in the background playing Genital Jousting story mode for the first time.
You know what you should maybe do? You should do the first ever Genital Jousting stream. And
without showing the game.
There's no game, and maybe there's someone doing like dramatic reenactment or something on screen, or like a live animation.
A couple of hot dogs.
This is what's happening. Totally.
So how did you develop the story? Because I mean, it's got some amazing comedic moments in it. Like it's just such a well-developed story for a game about cocks.
Well, I think that's the joke in a way. The real joke with Genital Jousting is that it's a serious game about cocks. Like that's the joke. I don't know. I don't know. We just started like after we made the single player, we kept getting bored and making these weird little vignettes, like a penis sitting at his desk, and or a penis trying to catch a bus, or like a penis trying to like clean his dishes, and it was just so funny that we like kept doing it. And then we were like, well, what if? I don't know. I can't remember. It was just like a very natural progression that kind of happened. Just one thing led to another, I guess, and like the tipping point, I guess, came when we hired a writer. So there's a playwright in Cape Town named John Keevy, and he's the writer for the story. And like it was the first time we've ever tried to do something with writing. It's the first time we've ever tried to do something narrative, and we were like bit off way more than we could chew. And it was pretty hard to do when you're so constrained in your verbs of like how you could express the story. But we just kind of worked at it for ages. Like we spent the first 6 months. It was going to be open world.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, we thought so, but it was just so hard to make a story be poignant when it's open world, we realized. We had all these, like, you kind of find jokes and they would, like, cut each other off, and it's a complicated dialogue tree, and it just, like, wasn't landing. Like, we needed to, like, bring it back down. And then we made the thing that was date night, actually. We made a game after we made the multiplayer, we started working on the single player. Then Valentine's Day was coming out, and we were like, oh, we should do an update for Valentine's Day. And, like, this is like something we often do at Realize. We just like have a stupid idea and like not enough time, but do it anyway. It's like 1 week till Valentine's Day, let's just try do it. And we basically made this like 2-player version of the game that's about 2 dicks going on a date with each other. And we kind of wanted to like subvert the idea that the game was just about sex and conquest and stuff, and make it about like romance as well, and like show sort of 2 penises having romantic experiences together. And anyway, that ended up being a short series of vignettes. And we found that the format worked really well, so we ended up just incorporating that into the whole single player.
What I found was how serious the narration is in it. Like I don't know who voiced the narration, but it's so brilliant.
Yeah, it's a voice actor from Cape Town called Robin Scott. Her voice is great. Doesn't sound South African. She sounds very like mid-Atlantic. Yeah, she has that thing, and it's interesting because she's very like matriarchal. She's very like proper English.
It almost sounds like a narration you would hear on a BBC documentary.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I think that plays into the humor. Like we agonized for a while whether we wanted to have a male voice actor or a female voice actor, and I was actually arguing for male because I felt that the stuff we wanted to talk about, I was worried that if a woman was saying it, it would come across as like preachy or like less relatable. Where I thought it'd be more impactful for men to hear men talk about the issues we want to talk about, but we did tests and the woman was. People love the woman. And that was definitely the right choice because she's amazing.
Totally. Like I think it also added to the humor side of it. Yeah. As well. So definitely. I think you've nailed it as a game. Yeah,
I think it was interesting. I'm really glad with the way it was directed by John because we managed to, I feel like, get to the point where it was actually it's really hard when you're directing voice acting to how the voice actor responds to what's going on. And in the early times, it sometimes felt like she was being very judgmental or very like scolding of the character, and we kind of wanted her to be a bit like a little bit removed, but then also slightly sympathetic,
almost sympathetic and disappointed.
Disappointed, slightly disappointed, slightly disgusted, but also like sympathetic for the character. Which I think we managed to nail.
100%. Where was I going to go with this? So the game was released globally last year.
Yeah.
Except Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
So what was the story there, do you know?
It's actually not as like exciting as like Australia being like, oh, get your dicks out of our country.
Yeah. And you're like, bugger it, in a year's time I'm going to bring my actual dick to your country.
I'll show you. No, it was actually a weird like loop in the way Steam publishes games, where if you basically Steam can publish unrated games anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you rate the game, then you can't. It's limited where you can show the game and exhibit it, and it makes everything much more difficult. And they can't, for instance, I think possibly show it on like the front page.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to get the game rated because we knew we would get an R18, and Australia required the game to be rated.
Yeah.
To be here.
So Australia has one of the hardest rating systems to get through.
Yeah.
There's some games that are still banned in this country.
It's infamous for it.
Yeah, but there's games that are still banned to this day, like Manhunt's still banned.
Yeah.
I think Bully may still be banned here as well.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
They choose.
And New Zealand generally goes, oh, our big brother Australia's banned it, we banned it.
I can't speak much because South Africa's rating board still requires you to submit a VHS tape of your video game.
You're kidding me? A VHS?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they actually watch you, but they're just so outdated with like, they don't actually do anything, but like, it's classified as video, there's no concept of video games. It's classified as video, and also, you need to send VHS tapes too.
That's amazing.
But no one releases anything in South Africa, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, so while we're talking about bans, the Twitch ban.
Yeah.
Like, I've brought it up in conversation with you since you've been here, and I think it's more because I'm instantly going straight to the marketing mind of what I do for my day job, right? And I'm trying to think, how can we get this game onto Twitch somehow without taking away from the game?
Yeah.
But what was it like, getting that Twitch strike?
What when you found out that it was banned?
Yeah. Expected?
I guess I was a bit horrified. Actually, I was not horrified. I was a bit indignant about it.
Yeah.
But especially when you look at the other games on that list.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other good games like Robert Yang's work with and like Shower with Your Dad and like games. I don't know. They just obviously have a very. I can understand the perspective of like you have to draw a line somewhere, and it's easier just to like draw it at any genitalia. But it's also a bit ridiculous when you look at what is allowed still. I don't know. It was kind of funny, and when we found out, we found out because Devolver wanted to do a stream at E3, like I think it was last year.
Yeah.
and we were like, oh, that's funny, it's banned. What can we do to get past the ban?
Yeah.
And then Nigel, our like publisher or our correspondent with Devolver, like asked Twitch and tried to find some way of making it work. Like if we blurred out the penises dynamically, or if we change them, and they
It's
weren't.
funny because literally everything I've brought up, what if we do this? You go, we've tried that.
Yeah, they wouldn't have any of it. Eventually we were like, okay, what if we turn all the penises into wiener dogs?
Yeah.
And it's the same game, it's just dogs sticking their heads up each other's buttholes.
Yeah.
And so we did that. I stayed up like all weekend trying to get it done, and it was called Engorge Wiener Thrusting.
Yeah.
And it went to E3, and it was on for like 10 or 5 minutes before they just like pulled it. They were like, what is this?
Gone.
So I don't know.
Anyway. In saying that, I was at E3 last year, and the Devolver, well, not a booth, because they weren't actually part of E3. What they did was they went, we're not going to be part of E3, we're going to do everything the opposite of E3. So the only people that were allowed there were media and game devs. They weren't going to allow the public in like E3 were. If you wanted food, you could actually get food, unlike at E3 with, I don't know, when you've been there, have you ever tried to get food from E3?
No, I just went to Devolver and ate their barbecue.
Yeah, free beer, and on the thing they had the big dildo controllers.
Yeah, magnificent.
And I tweeted photos of it. If you go back in my Twitter timeline or on my Instagram, it's all over it. And I just remember thinking, this is the best game promotion I've ever seen. It was amazing.
The game went to a festival in Berlin called Amaze, which is like a like experimental game festival. It's probably my favorite festival.
Yeah.
And yeah, I decided that I was going to build a dildo controller for it. And that was actually my first contribution to when I came into the project.
Yeah.
Was I built this huge 8-player dildo controller, and we built dildos, and we bought some packing penises, which are like the small soft silicone ones that often people that want to pass as male but are like female sex will put in their pants, like trans people, to like have a bit of a package.
I didn't even know those existed there.
They're amazing.
We're learning today.
And they feel like really great, actually. They feel so realistic and soft and satisfying.
Yeah.
So those are my favorite. Those are small ones. So there's a range. There's some big ones, some small ones. And then I went to the local mall and bought a bunch of Barbie dolls, and then took the clothes off, put the clothes on the dildos so that they'd be clothed like in the game. And I went out of the. I was going out with a girl that I was I was interested in at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be a good idea to be like, I thought I'd be like showing off to go to the mall and like with a company credit card and buy just like 8 or 12 Barbies and just like not a bad eye to like go put on my dildos. But I don't think she was like as impressed by it.
She didn't see it as funny as you did.
Yeah, she wasn't as impressed as I was by it. But yeah, anyway, I did that, and then I had to fly to Berlin with like
a bag full of
dildos, and I was going through Istanbul, I think, and my parents were so worried about me. Like, I didn't think twice about it. I was like, I'm gonna play with a bag of dicks, it'll be fine. But it turns out, if you go through certain regions with a bag of dicks, you're gonna run into trouble. And luckily, I got through fine. But my parents are very stressed about it.
Hey, so while we're talking about your parents know what you do, obviously.
Yes.
And they know about the game.
Yes.
And being as conservative as they are, or were.
Yeah. I think.
What was their impression of the game?
I think well, they were confused.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I think everyone was confused. Even my friends. Even I was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's been interesting. My parents are.
What were you like when they were so confused? Now you know what my teenage years were like.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think they've known me for long enough that they could sort of see the trend in my life.
Yeah.
But I think that they're conservative, but they're also open-minded. So they've been kind of moving out of the conservative. Anyway, my mom was a bit concerned. She was, and more concerned maybe from like representation and feminist side and things, which was fair. And I had some good conversations with her about it. Yeah. But I think it was when the game, we did a big exhibition of it in our local town, and then all people turned up to play and laugh and saw it. And I think she saw it in practice that she finally thought that like this was a constructive use of my time.
Well, I mean, the conversations that it brings up must be, you know, like it must be interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't know what my mom tells her friends that I do.
Yeah.
I think
Does she still go to church?
Yeah.
So you imagine like,
How's Richard doing?
Yeah, how's Richard doing? Oh,
Yeah.
he's doing fine. Oh, what's he doing?
He's
Making games.
Yeah.
What about? Have anyone's on? No, you wouldn't know about it.
I mean, I think she should be more proud of me than being like, I'm making another game about like going into a foreign country and shooting.
Yeah, well, exactly,
shooting
right.
people, but
Make love, not war.
yeah, totally.
So what other games have you worked on? Because your Twitter bio says that you work on dating sims as well.
Yeah, so I work with a bunch of two friends we go by the name Team Laserbeam, and we kind of describe ourselves as like a punk video game band. So we try to like draw on the sort of like processes of bands where you kind of have everyone specializing, and like it's very much about aesthetic and about community, and we make short games that are about romance mostly, and like weird ideas we come up with. Like the first one we made was a game about like two snow cones going on a date, and that was just supposed to be this like gross romantic like over the top thing, and that was actually kind of like scary to make in a way, because it's less scary as a guy to make a game about shooting. It's more scary to make a game that's like really sappy and romantic, and it's more like self-conscious about what my colleagues would say about it, but they're really supportive of it. And then we just made we made a game called Wrestling with Emotions, which is a game about a speed dating game for wrestlers. So like it's about a new wrestler moving to town, and then him not knowing anyone, and he goes to like the speed dating for wrestlers, and he like sits down with all these other wrestlers and like talks to them and tries to get to know them, and it's all very homoerotic and sweet. And then it ends with you having like this like bash where you're like beating each other up, but like kind of in love with each other.
It's fascinating.
So yeah, I don't know. I like the intersection obviously between like love and like queerness. And, I don't know. I make that sort of stuff, and then I think we might make a game about being a leg farmer next, which, as what it is, it's a game about farming legs. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just having a quick look through the comments, see if there's any questions. If anyone has any questions, chuck them in there if we haven't covered anything you're interested in. There's some positive comments in here for you though. We've got there that, what have we got? Little Miss Vixen, she's a friend of Go to Game. She says she's had the game for over a year.
She said, I just whip out my dick.
Yep. Stevie Plays This, says the game looks so bizarre and he loves it. So that's cool. Someone else has said, is it weird that Dick in a Box just popped into my head?
I mean, I wish we had recorded more of like the conversations in the office, because it becomes very mundane every day when you're talking about making a game about dicks, and like someone will just come into the office and overhear a conversation and like remind us of how weird what we're talking about is, and like complaining about the technical limits of our like butthole penetration code. And
well, so for the game physics, I feel like this is a question I probably shouldn't ask, but what sort of research goes into that?
I don't know, you feel like lifetime of experience. Really.
Lifetime. I've seen one long enough to know how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you give a boy a pen, he's going to draw a penis. You give a boy a 3D engine, he's going to model a penis that's physically active.
Well, I can actually vouch for that. We had a client that had a device, and the device was for drawing. Literally, every single person we showed that product to for the first time, whether they were male or female, the first thing they drew was a big cock and balls.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's so juvenile, but that's why it's so great.
All right. So, who's got a great question here? Have you faced any backlash from any communities on making Genital Jousting?
I mean, the Steam thread is a bit of a shit show. I mean, we don't really engage with it that much, but
the comment section, anyways.
Yeah, it mixes. There's a lot of great comments, and it's very like self-moderating, I guess. Like, there's always someone that'll speak up, kind of what our opinion is, which is great. But you do get a lot of like guys that come in and be like, I don't know, just homophobic. And I was shocked that Steam would have this on and feel like the world is crumbling and think of the children and stuff, which is a fair point actually. But I don't know. Yeah, no serious backlash. It's actually been ridiculously supportive. I thought we'd get. I mean, in a way, I kind of wanted to get a bit more critical discourse about the game. I was hoping more like academic journalists would write their thoughts and about the shortcomings of the game.
Yeah.
But there hasn't actually been that much like feedback. We're nominated for an award at that Amaze Festival again, so maybe there'll be some discussion. But yeah, mostly very supportive. Someone said a really sweet story, said something really sweet, which is that he had like struggled with sexual abuse in school.
Okay.
And he found that the game was actually quite therapeutic in that it just acknowledged that that's a thing that a lot of men go through.
Yeah.
And like just to see someone put something out, put time into that, like made him feel less like invisible.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you working on now?
I don't know. I'm traveling, having an existential crisis.
Yeah.
That part where you get out of a big project and you suddenly don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
But
are you able to talk about that other project yet?
Yeah. Actually, no, I don't know if I am.
Okay.
I'm working on a cool thing that's like that Team Laserbeam punk game band. We're doing a split with another band where they're releasing 6 songs and we're releasing 6 games that'll go with it, and it's all going to be like launched through the record label, which I'm quite excited about because with the weird games we've been doing, I don't know if the audience for the games we're making is necessarily in the traditional gaming scene, and I think trying to like be more in the music culture will maybe be a bit more beneficial.
Well, let us know when when it releases and launches.
Cool.
We'd love to have a story on Go to Game, but we'll cover it.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Did you do a story on Genital Jousting? Actually?
Yeah,
I feel like
did.
I remember reading an article from Go to Game now.
Yeah. I think we've done 2 articles on
Amazing.
it.
Yeah, I totally remember those articles now.
Yeah, we did the original launch and then we did one on the
that was like one of the first articles you read. That's so weird.
Yeah. So yeah, the moment I saw on Twitter that you guys were doing something in Melbourne, that's actually how we got in touch. Are you guys swinging by Sydney?
Yeah. You've been so sweet and spotted. Like, you were just like you swing by Sydney. I was like, and then you let me sleep in your house. That's great.
Not a problem, man. So is there anything else you want to sort of get across while we're here? While you've got an audience here.
Tell your friends about Genital Jousting. No one's buying it.
So you actually, this is a conversation we have had as well. Like you said, it did really well at launch.
Yeah.
As the original, but the story mode just isn't.
Just like
people aren't downloading it.
It just flopped out.
Yeah. Flopped out.
It's weird. Obviously, when we first launched, we had like shock factor and we had like virality.
Because you had some amazing YouTubers streaming it or playing it. So if you do a quick Google search, like you see like Jacksepticeye has played it. I think PewDiePie has played it.
Yeah.
All the Funhouse guys and like all the big names have played this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was hoping. I knew that we weren't gonna like get the same. We'd like kind of burnt a lot of our like novelty factor, but I was hoping that the absurdity of like having made a story about penis that's a fully narrative would like be enough to like pique people's like interest and like spread by word of mouth. But when it launched, it kind of launched crickets in a way. Like there was some articles like yours and a couple of others, but for the most part I
think it worked out well in Australia because story mode literally came out the same week that all of a sudden Genital Jousting was now legal to download in Australia. Like, it worked out that at the same time.
But there was no YouTube plays of it, like none. There was like a couple of very small ones, but for like weeks there's been like no big YouTube players, and that was just so mysterious to me. And I still don't entirely understand why, because obviously the first one, when it first came out, people loved it. I do think the game is not super well designed for YouTubers in a way because of all the dialogue. It doesn't leave a lot of space for YouTubers to talk.
And see, this is where I think it is. I think it would work for a Twitch stream. What's a shame is as soon as I got a copy of the game, I looked into, can I stream it on Twitch? No. Can I stream it on YouTube? Yes, but it'll potentially be blocked or demonetized. Demonetized isn't an issue for us, so.
I feel like you could. I don't know why no one streamed it on YouTube, because I really feel like YouTube would leave it. Like they've left all the other ones.
Yeah.
And, like, people get their stuff monetized.
Even Mixer have banned it, and so is Caffeine.tv, which is a new one.
They've
banned it as well, but I think they've just copied and pasted Twitch's banned list. I
don't know. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. It's actually really. I mean, I was quite heartbroken that like it didn't get more plays, and that I don't know. Just like I keep meeting people that don't know the story mode even exists. And, like that's
that was one of the comments we got. They didn't even know there was a solo, so she was going to go and play it.
And that's like, that was a bummer because like we really poured our heart and soul into it, and we were like so excited to play it, and then like.
I think it's brilliant. So.
Yeah, thanks.
But I got a free copy, so my copy doesn't count.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about being downhearted in a bit about it, Stevie Plays This has asked, did the Twitch ban and other censorship issues affect your creative process for future games?
That's an interesting question.
It is.
Not consciously, not yet, but I'm sure on the I'm sure it will definitely affect that. And that's what kind of bums me out. You see it a lot in YouTube, in like the content that it creates, and so even in terms of like outside of games, like videos and humor and comedy, it's so dictated by what is allowed and what's not and what will be monetized. Like they really control speech in a way, because if you want to speak and get paid for speaking, you have to follow by their rules.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I for the first time I've like not working for anyone, working by myself, and that's definitely changed the way I see money. And before I was like very like, I don't care about money, I'll do whatever. And now that it's like I need to make my own, I'm like, oh god, like maybe I will be a bit more conservative and try and work the system. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the narrative you're telling in the game, especially in this story mode, like it's be interesting to sort of explore those same sort of topics in a way that could potentially be safe, but I don't know if you'd get the same audience with playing it safe. It's like 50-50.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, what's great about Genital Jousting is you could only tell the story we're telling in a way if it was
ridiculous.
If it's giant dicks, because it is kind of like it's a bit of a preachy story. It's a bit like cliche, and it's a bit like, I don't know, I feel like if it was like just regular models, it would just be like cringy.
Yeah.
But because the game is so absurd, we could take the story to a more serious level.
Yeah.
And it is like, if the game wasn't so controversial, we wouldn't have wanted to make it. We wanted to make it because it was controversial, and we felt that if like so if it wasn't gonna be banned, we probably wouldn't have made it. Yeah.
Awesome. So where can people follow you online?
I'm at Necropants on Twitter. I guess I'm using that more now. I use Instagram a lot. My Instagram is Necropants with a Z, because there's actually an Australian that has Necropants with an S.
Yeah.
And then we added each other, now we follow each other, which I think is really interesting, because he sees all my dick pics, and I don't know what he thinks about me. But so I use Instagram a lot. I use Twitter a lot, and
and Genital Jousting, including story mode, is available on Steam.
Yep.
Gonna look at porting it to any other platforms, mobile. You sit on the train and play with your dick.
I mean, nothing's impossible, right?
I'd say Nintendo is probably impossible.
Yeah. I don't know. Nintendo has what, like Bloodborne now?
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Yeah. But I don't know. Labo plugin would be pretty good. I have a dream that it comes out on console by some, but everyone tells me that's just not possible. Yeah. So I don't know. I would love to see it on PlayStation, Xbox. I think it's so cartoonish and great.
I wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation would allow it. At least, like in Japan, some of the games they release for the Japanese market would never be released in the Western market.
Yeah.
So you never know. They might be a bit more flexible. But in saying that, they're
I don't know.
We're going down some territory we probably can't stream actually, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope it. I don't know. I hope it finds some longevity.
Yeah.
I wonder if, as we were talking before, you go back and look at Friends and I don't know, like American Pie and stuff, and it's like so tasteless. I do think Genital Jousting is gonna look pretty tasteless in like 10 years time. Yeah. But I think that's just part of like the process of moving forward. And, so we'll see.
All right. So I'm going to take this as the last question because no one else has chucked anything in. Have you approached Twitch and asked what changes would be needed to make it streamable on their platform?
I don't know.
We kind of touched on it earlier.
Yeah, I think I mean, our publisher did push pretty hard when we first found out to like see if there's any way. Our publisher's developer, by the way, if there's any way we could make it work, and they couldn't find any doors we could open until they get through. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dude. Thanks so much for jumping on this.
Good questions.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone who jumped in as well. This will be available on YouTube as well, and we'll have it uploaded to goto.game, the website. Make sure you check out the website. If you haven't already, follow our Twitch account, because we're doing this a bit more regularly, talking to different game devs as they come through the city, as well as some awesome local guys. We've done a couple already, so you can check them out if they're no longer in our Twitch stream. You can find them on YouTube and on the website. Follow us on Twitter at GoToGame. On Facebook, drop us a like on there, and do the same for Genital Jousting and for Richard.
Yeah, I think the camera setup worked pretty well.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I don't know what the sound would be like.
I think the sound must be okay, because usually Twitch viewers will tell you straight away that you sound like us. So
Right. I feel like this could be like a good horror sort of. You should do like a horror stream where like.
yeah, we haven't done a horror stream for a while. I'm sure.
Well, I mean like
Yeah.
an actual like in-world horror, like
Yeah.
something moving in the background.
Yeah.
Kind of.
All right. Thanks, guys, and thanks again, Richard.
Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome.